Hello, good evening. It's another beautiful Sunday evening. Today is day number 22 in the month of January, the year 2024. My name is Kennedy Mona, and this is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Remember, Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. And our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all the transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show. We are streaming live on our social media pages, and we are streaming live on Facebook at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port Ghana. Iron Port Ghana. We shall be getting interactive with you, and all you have to do is sit back, relax, grab your phones, and send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177. 0559 019 177. Now, when the time is ripe and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Ohima, let me take a number first. By you. Tell me say take the number, give me.
Guys, no, I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, can you thank number what? Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Raw 95.
Fill up with Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from GWEL.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Raw 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for GWEL Super XP Raw 95. GWEL, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS. We connect. You thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We are now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And indeed, in the course of the week, Ghana, as the port of Tema, had cause to become the first port of call in the West African sub-region following the launch of a new express service by Maersk Line. We shall take a look into detail that story, plus the fact that the Women's International in Shipping and Trading, that's Western Ghana, has also pledged support for some, children who have cancer, who are grappling with cancer. They had cause to make a donation at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital last week. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
A historic milestone in the annals of the Port of Tema has been chalked with the arrival of a 13,000-plus container ship earlier this week at the MPS Terminal 3. The call of the Maersk Engendering marked the commencement of a new express service, making the Port of Tema the first port of call in West Africa. The 366-meter-long, 13,676 TEU vessel, before reaching the west coast of Africa, journeyed through major hub ports in China and Southeast Asia in under 20 days. This vessel is one of 13 similar-sized vessels deployed on the updated Far East West Africa service, expected to deliver better connectivity and quicker transit time. The Maersk Ghana team, together with some of the line's key customers, celebrated this milestone with a quick tour of the giant ship.
So these are massive vessels that we are deploying on the Far East into West Africa corridor. And these markets are super important for us, also for our customers, that we see this corridor growing every year. Last year, the corridor grew 23% into West Africa, and we expect that this will inject the needed capacity to be able to carry the cargo that is needed into West Africa. So this is a very big change for us, and I think one that we are super excited, not only to bring in capacity, but also for our customers to improve the coverage of where they pick their cargo into West Africa, but also improving the transit time. And because it's a direct service, it means that from all the ports in China, we're going to have Ghana as the first port that this vessel is going to call, which is very good news, because what it means is that if you look at West Africa, where we have structural constraints with most of the ports, this actually gives indication of the kind of infrastructure that we have in Tema to be able to receive such big vessels. And Tema is being nominated as the first port. In other words, it is the gateway for these vessels to enter West Africa, which is an exciting news for us.
The vessel coming directly from Far East to us means we'll have a shorter lead time. So it means that we'll have our materials available on time for us to be able to produce on time in order to satisfy our customers. So that is the key part, availability. Secondly, because the lead time is short, it means we do not have to keep so many stock at a point in time, because we can always get them coming as and when we need them. So it can help us also to reduce the stock holding that we have in terms of our raw and packaging materials.
Chief Executive Officer of Meridian Port Services, Mohammed Samara, told Iron Port what this means to traders, industries, and ordinary consumers using the port of Tema.
Well, it means a lot. First of all, his logistics chain becomes all of a sudden shorter, which means lesser outlay of money in terms of products at sea, for it to come to him in good time for production over here. Secondly, the cost of the freight is bound to go down because we are the first port of call. So the freight that they have, or the containers, they burn less fuel and energy and time on board the ship. So it will be marginally less than any other port. So that creates more opportunity for us. And normally industries, they prefer to set up shop, where is good connectivity and where is good transit time. And we are just putting ourselves on the map to be offering such opportunity for industrials.
He said this feat is made possible by the massive investment made into the port facility at Terminal 3.
And as you can see on the cranes on board the ship, we have deployed 8 cranes on board the ship. Not many ports in West Africa, they have 8 cranes, let alone to be able to deploy 8 cranes on one ship. So the infrastructure that we have built over here is capable of taking such size vessel and even bigger. We have the draft, and we are connected directly to the Atlantic Ocean. So we have no restrictions of tide or navigation through a river or a creek. Ship just enters straight from the Atlantic Ocean into the Harbour Basin.
Mohamed Samara revealed that this is only the beginning so far as Ghana's gateway ambitions are concerned.
Last week, without mentioning specific names due to commercial sensitivity probably for some lines, but few lines are talking to us, about setting up similar, services. And also, I would like to add that the unfolding situation in the Red Sea and the diversion of trade around the Cape, that brings one of the major international trade routes right through our doorstep. So the potential of attracting some of these ships after a long journey to stop in Tema, discharge some transshipment, and continue or turn around and go back is there. So we are pursuing also the possibility of attracting more transshipment traffic coming from bigger services like the 400 meter, not the 366 meter.
The Women's International Shipping and Trading Association is a global organization connecting female executives and decision makers around the world. The national arm, West Ghana, was established in June 2009 with the sole aim of promoting the development of women in the maritime industry. One of the fundamental principles of West Ghana is making social impact through various community and social initiatives. To start the year, West Ghana has taken upon itself to make an impact in the lives of children battling with cancer. The Women's Association, led by its president, Gertrude Ohenye-Sienim, over the weekend made a 10,000 Ghana cedi cash donation and other items to the Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana, a non-profit organization dedicated to providing comprehensive care for children with cancer at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The president of West Ghana says the token support is to help raise awareness about childhood cancer, which is very low, so as to help increase the chances of survival among children in Ghana.
Some Western says they are supporting with 500 cedis for you to buy toilet rolls for the washing.
She pledged the support of her outfit in the care and treatment of childhood cancers in the future.
Okay, so those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week in our country. We're now going to the flip side for some international port and shipping news.
Following what has been described as the largest Houthi drone attack in the Red Sea on January 9, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution demanding that the Houthis immediately cease all attacks on merchant and commercial vessels. The adopted resolution demands the release of the Galaxy leader and its crew that were captured back in November. The seizure of the car carrier has been followed by 26 attacks on commercial vessels in the area as of January 11. The UN further said that the resolution also took note of member states' rights in accordance with international law to defend their vessels from attacks, including those that undermine navigational rights and freedoms. It condemned the provision of material to the Houthis in violation of Resolution 2216/2015 and urged caution and restraint to avoid further escalation of the situation in the Red Sea and the broader region. In a related development, the US and UK militaries launched strikes against Houthi targets in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen on last Thursday, January 11, marking a significant response after the Biden administration and its allies warned that the Iran-backed militant group would bear the consequences of its attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. US President Joe Biden said he ordered the strikes in direct response to unprecedented Houthi attacks against international maritime vessels in the Red Sea.
All right, so those were happenings in the industry globally. we're now going for the word or phrase of the day segment. And remember, this particular segment has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is on-close. On-close.
UNCLOS stands for the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Adopted in 1982, it lays down a comprehensive regime of law and order in the world's oceans and seas, establishing rules governing all users of the oceans and their resources.
All right, so welcome back. Tonight we are zooming to our discussion proper, and we're taking a look at the textiles and garment sector. Now, the government of Ghana is fashioning out a national policy for the textiles and garments manufacturing sector. I was fortunate in the course of the week, last week, so to speak, to partake in the stakeholder engagement or consultative meeting next to Alisa here. We had almost all the creme de la creme in that particular industry taking part in this particular consultative meeting. I take a casual look at the document, and I think that it's something that is fantastic, something that is good. But I'm a layman because I'm not entrenched. I'm not actually, deep in this particular industry. So my appreciation or comprehension or understanding of some of the things that have been captured in that particular document may differ from those that are actually real players or practitioners in this particular industry. And so we want to take a look at this particular document from the industry perspective, from players in the industry, and see what they think about it, whether it's actually what they've been looking for, whether it's a panacea to the challenges that they've grappled with over the years. We talk about the influx of cheap, textiles and garments in our country, and all the other issues that makes them uncompetitive. And so tonight, that's what we're going to be discussing, and it gives me pleasure to introduce to us in the studios Nana Pukia A.A. Ediama, who is the National Coordinator of the Association of Ghana Apparel Manufacturers, AGAM.
That's right.
Awesome, Nana, welcome, and thank you for obliging us. We're grateful to have you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Awesome. And also in the studios, we have Madame Petra Abba Asamoah, who is the Head of Sales and Marketing at Akosombo Industrial Company Limited. Indeed, that was Akosombo Textiles. She'll tell us how it evolved to become industrial company instead of Akosombo Textiles Company Limited. So let me begin with you, Nana Pukia, and ask you to tell us about AGAM.
Okay. Thank you for having us. Indeed, AGAM is, should I say, an abbreviation for our Association of Ghana Apparel Manufacturers.
Right.
And we are a business advocacy group representing our sector. We have over 30 members in the association, and we look at delivering mass production of textiles, garment, and apparels, and the value chain, the production of it. We are predominantly in Accra, Tema, Koforidua, and the rest of the country.
Right.
Interestingly, female-dominated, both in management and workers and in the employees. Our membership has expertise over 2 decades in the production of garments and apparel, both for local and external markets. As a group, we have been producing various products in the fashion line, the ladies' wear, gents' wear, children's wear. We do industrial wear as well. We do uniforms. We like to fondly say that we can produce anything under the needle.
Right.
And indeed, that is an indication of how creative and innovative our membership are. And I believe it indeed is a reflection of the sector in general.
Right.
I am happy to say that a test of that was when we had to partner the government to produce the PPEs in the thick of the COVID season. Fortunately, Ghana did not have to import to fight COVID, especially at the onset of it.
Right.
Most of the PPEs that we use locally I'd say 95% and more was produced locally by Ghanaian garment, apparel, textiles, and those in the sector.
Right.
And so that in brief is our association. We have been doing some export for a number of years now. As of last year, 2023, we're looking at, we've done over $40 million of exports from our sector. And that is, I would say, just a representative figure. Since some of the figures are still being collated by trade agencies. And that has grown over the years. In 2012, we were doing about 12 million. We went to 16. We went to 21 in 2021. And then last year, we've done a little over 40 million. So that in brief, I would say, is our sector. And I believe our sector indeed is a key and anchor sector for development in Ghana, especially local production and manufacturing. And the various reasons is that, one of the key reasons is that we are a majority employer in the sector.
Right.
We, even at our association level, which doesn't represent everybody in the sector, but it represents more of the large producers, we currently are doing about 10,000 workers amongst the membership.
Right.
And by that, there's another 10 or more thousand who are not represented in our association.
Yes.
And so we are a large employer in Ghana. We also offer, should I say, skills training to the youth and so many other things. And so we contribute actively to GDP.
Right.
I believe as at last year, our sector was doing, if I'm right, is it about 30% as part of the services and manufacturing?
Okay.
And so I don't want to take the wind out of our discussions this evening.
Yes.
So let me end it here, and that is Agam.
Quickly, I just wanted to draw the dichotomy between textiles and garments. I'm one particular person who has faced that dilemma. I'm not able to draw that dichotomy to distinguish between what is textile and what is garments. Can you tell us what the difference is?
Indeed, that's a very interesting question, and it's common for what is where a lot of people don't know the difference.
Yes.
So I'll leave Petra to do the textile bit because I think she's more vexed in it.
Okay.
And so I like to speak to the apparel and the garments.
Sure.
And so in layman terms, is practically anything that is produced that is usable and wearable. Okay. Right? Okay. That is apparel and garment.
Okay, so it means that the fabric is textile.
Exactly.
The garment is the end product.
Exactly.
The clothes that I go to buy.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, and sometimes it is wearable. Sometimes it is usable.
Right.
So sometimes we don't wear per se, but we use it. So, for example, we would have apparel that is used as seats, as curtains, as bed sheets. I'm trying to look at our everyday lifestyle, And so that is a simple definition for everybody to grasp.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so let me come to Petra. And let me find out from you, Akosombo Textile Company. This is a name that has rung a bell. It became so popular some time ago and all that. And all of a sudden, when my team sent me the flyer, I said, but this thing should be Akosombo Textiles Company, not Akosombo Industrial Company Limited. What is happening? I had to call you.
Yes.
And you said yes. You alluded to the fact that, yes, it was Akosombo Industrial Company. Tell us how that evolution came.
Thanks,
how did it metamorphose from,
and
Akosombo
thanks for
Textiles?
making the call.
Yes.
It's an important opportunity for us to explain. So sometime in 2018, the original owners of Akosombo Textiles exited the country. And the company was handed over to new management with government stake. So the legal entity now is Akosombo Industrial Company Limited.
Right.
However, like you've said, it's a brand that has lived for over 5 decades. There's a lot of positive equity. It's a very loved brand, and we recognize that. So we're keeping Akosombo Textiles as the brand, and the legal entity is just what has changed. So we still have the brands that we have. We're still the sole manufacturers of ABC. In 2006, the ABC machinery was moved from Manchester in UK to Ghana by the original owners, and we produce ABC English wax in Ghana.
Right.
We produce ATL wax, colored fancy print, Q Spice, the Viva, Treasure, and then our black and white.
Right.
So that's the only thing. But we're still Akosombo Textiles, so that's still the brand that you
Right.
know, that you love, and we're still serving the markets.
All right. So I'll begin with you, the major question, and to find out from you if you can bring us up to speed with how the textiles industry in Ghana has evolved over the years and where we currently stand.
Okay, so let's take this to possibly in the last decade, possibly 2 decades. There's been significant changes. So Ghana used to have up to 16 medium to large scale textile manufacturing factories in Ghana. Currently we have 4. So there's Akosombo Textiles.
From 16 to 4?
Yes. So there's Akosombo Textiles, there's Volta Star, there's Printex, and then GTP. Now, that tells you how much has changed in terms of output, in terms of employment, in terms of productivity. That's one thing. But we also recognize that globally, there's been an impact on textile manufacturing, how has it impacted us also. So one of the key things that this policy, for instance, brings to light is how has the influx of textiles from other markets impacted on us locally. And I feel that that's a very important conversation for us to have, because that's one of the key things that has impacted on the evolution. So immediately the opportunity became available for textiles from everywhere in the world to enter into Ghana. It definitely had a direct impact on the local manufacturing sector, textile manufacturing sector. So that's one thing. In terms of technology, a lot has changed. In terms of supply chain, where raw materials are procured from, a lot has changed. And that's why this policy for me is exciting, because it tends to address all of the key issues that need to be addressed to ensure that, I won't say the industry goes back to what it was, but the industry gets a reviving energy. So we don't necessarily just want to go back, we want to be better. We want to be more globally competitive. We want to be more strategically aligned to what's available globally. We want to serve not just our local market, but what's available globally. So let me tell you something very interesting. In Africa alone, there's about $2 billion worth of spend annually for textiles.
2 billion?
2 billion.
In Africa?
Yes. And about 70% of that is not produced in any African country. Okay, so essentially, the African markets are consuming the products, but we're not necessarily contributing or getting the value that our markets have available. So the money is not staying in Africa. It's not even in Ghana. Like let's zone this in on Ghana. I can say 70% of the textiles that we use in Ghana, so what we call the African print, is not produced here.
Yes.
Okay, and that's a key issue. What this policy, where we find that there's an opportunity for us here, is that we want to have a level playing field. We want to be able to have a playing field that allows us to compete with wherever or whoever is bringing something in. Because the customer ultimately has a choice. And the customer will choose on various things. They'll choose on design, they'll choose on the look and the feel, but they'll also choose on price. And that's a very key thing. And I'm sure when we come to the key thematic areas, we'll look at how there's some of the policy issues impact on the pricing. Because that's a very key thing for a market like ours.
Absolutely.
If you're priced at X and somebody else is priced at Y, the customer will say, okay, yes, I want value, I want quality, I love the brand, but also what can I afford? What do I have available in my pockets to spend? And that's a very important point for us.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me come to Nana and find out from you. You made mention of the fact that, yes, through your membership, you can boast of some 10,000, and outside the membership, another 10,000 or even more. Now, you should be having some challenges in your sector. Can you tell us what some of these issues are that you grapple with on a daily basis and how that can be ameliorated?
Okay, so I think that one of the challenges is the reason why we have been sitting here today, and the fact that till date we are now working on a policy for the sector. We are happy to at least have a draft. That there has indeed, I like to say that a supervising ministry or agency, that's a Ministry of Trade, has been engaging. The draft has been out, and like you rightly said, we had a dialogue session just the past week, and we're still collating feedback. But we have, should I say, we are very optimistic that it should probably go into cabinet this year and have a policy soon. So one of the key areas is indeed the policy, because the policy is actually the framework with which we render our services, especially for investor engagement. On a manufacturing level, which is where we sit, you can engage an investor up to a certain point. On issues like utility and infrastructure, you'll be a bit limited. But if you have a policy that is backed by your government and is in your law that offers these, should I say, incentives, it makes it much easier to engage. So the policy is one of that. And we also have issue with access to financing. I always like to give credit where credit is due. Post-COVID, there has been a big difference on the access to financing, because there has been various interventions from grants and what have you that came from the World Bank and other international donor agencies through the government to our sector. So agencies that the GA has done post-COVID grants, GSDF and what have you. And so there has been some support for the finance, on the angle of finance for our sector. However, our sector is very capital intensive. Especially when you talk about our line of production. Our line of production is mass production, and you need even a factory, what we call a factory, to do the kind of production that is required. And so our minimum line, if you're looking at one line, which is what we call for production, should have at least 20 machines, and that's just the standard machines. I'm not talking about the other specialized machines. And so because the sector is quite capital intensive, the private investor may not be able to do everything that is required to be able to get the business going. So finance plays a critical role. So access to financing that is cheaper, easily accessible, should I say, targeted for the manufacturer, is the kind of financing that we need. Usually long-term focused as well. And so we are hoping that the policy will take care of such issues. Machinery, equipment, digitization and automation is another challenge that we have. I've already hinted on the machinery. Now technology is the in thing. So our factories currently need revamping, especially with machinery and equipment.
Is it that the case that most of the machines you have at the moment are obsolete and needs replacement?
I would have to admit that they are not as competitive and as modern as they should be. On our own, we've done some investments, and some international agencies have supported in that regard. And so we are in the phase of upgrading. So yes, we do have some old machines, but we have a few recent new ones as well. And the process is ongoing. So machinery, equipment, and then automation and digitization. You'd bear me witness that now the world is very IT. And so even design, it's very electronic as well. And so that's another challenge that we have. To be able to even buy some of these machines, it's a huge investment. And
capital intensive.
Hugely capital intensive. And sometimes when you even find the machinery, the after sales service support is not available locally. There are a few agencies locally that are trying to meet that gap that we have, but a lot of times you probably have to, should I say, fly down an expert who produced the machine to be able to get the repair and maintenance that you need. There's also the issue of tariffs and utilities. Like any business in Ghana, we have a bit of challenge with tariffs and utilities. I know there has been the effort to review some of these tariffs, and there has been the discussion on utilities as well. We are hoping that when the policy is finalized, it will put us in a better position than we have been. Because at the moment, our tariffs and our utilities are still quite high, which tends to increase our cost of production, making us not competitive even locally, and that is what Petra was alluding to. It's because when you talk internationally, sometimes you are even out of the market just because your starting point, which is your cost of production, is high due to high utilities. We also have a challenge with raw materials. We used to produce some raw materials locally, such as even our textiles. But for some years now, we are not at that same position. And so at the moment, we import most of our raw materials. And when I talk about imports, you know what that means. High interest rates, clearing charges, and what have you. Even sometimes the time to bring the products in. You might have an order that you need to turn your production around quicker. And it takes X number of months or sometimes days, weeks before the products can come in. So we have the issue with our raw materials as well. Sometimes you also find raw materials such as accessories, and the quality is not what you need, and yet it still comes because it's imported. It's expensive, but that is what you have. That is what the market has, and so that is what you have to use.
In your industry, when you say accessories, you're referring to perhaps if the
everything
the
that
zip,
goes,
the buttons,
yes,
all those ones.
Everything that goes into the production. So if you take an attire, it will be zips, buttons, trimmings, name it. Anything that adds to the fabric to bring out the end product is an accessory. Yeah. So and then we also have an issue with skilled workers, and then technical production as well. The world is a global market now. And indeed, I would say that there's a growing interest for garment and apparel sourcing from the formal or traditional suppliers. Indeed, Africa and Ghana has a key, should I say, interest of buyers coming into our region. And with that, you would have to, should I say, up your game. And we don't have the skilled labor available, especially when you talk about technical production. We don't have it. We are fortunate to have partnered some of the international agencies and the government who are looking at supporting us in that area. And we hope that the policy would, should I say, enforce that need. It would rather enforce the supply of the technical and skilled producers. Yeah, so I think that would be the key areas of our challenges here. There are others, of course, but then these are the key areas.
Okay, so one of the issues that you mentioned the issue of machinery, and one of the issues that I raised, and skilled workers and experts and all that, having to fly in experts, after sales servicing and all that. And one of the issues I raised during the meeting was the fact that it was captured, or it's captured in the policy, the draft policy, that you would have to incentivize, expats to come, and fill spaces in the textiles and garments sector. And your organization seems to be in support of this particular clause in the, what do we call it, the policy, because you think that we lack Ghanaian skilled and workers and professionals to man the kind of machines that you have at the moment. Why is that?
Well, it's a myriad of should I say challenges. So when we talk about the skills and the technical expertise, our educational institutions have made an effort in the past few years to try and meet that gap. But then the expertise is not available locally. And especially when you want to produce to meet international standards and for exports, which tends to be the majority bias, then you'd have to get the expertise that is available externally or internationally, which we don't have locally. So once you are looking at getting the expertise to come in, then you have to incentivize them. There has to be a good reason why they should come. But then it is, I believe it's an investment that as a sector, we are committed to doing. We've done it for years, and we have been fortunate to have partnership that supports that. So we have international agencies like the German Development, the GIZ, who bring in these experts. Some of our local agencies as well, like the Ministry of Trade, like GEPA, also handhold us to be able to bring these experts.
Yes.
And then in the long term, we're looking at the skills transfer from these experts to our local workers,
Yes.
so that over a period of time, we would have probably less need for these technical expertise or the experts, and we'll have that expertise available locally,
Yes.
and probably even enhanced to meet our local demands.
Right.
So we are supportive of having the experts here because there is a gap, and the gap cannot be met locally.
Right.
And so if we want to stay competitive, if we want to be in business, if we want to look at the international opportunity,
Yes.
then we have to partner these external experts to be able to gain the knowledge and the skill to transfer locally. And then over time, we should be more self-sufficient.
Right. Awesome. Let me come to Petra and to find out from you, from the textiles point of view. You are from the textile sector. I know one of the issues that you are reeling under, that you are really suffering, is flooding of the market of cheap, textiles from other places. We know the obvious sources. Tell us, what are some of the challenges? She's enumerated a lot that they're looking at the policy to address. Tell us your side.
So when it comes to influx, I think primarily our biggest challenge is not just the price points, but also the fact that largely these textiles have our designs and our brands pirated.
How do they get them?
That's a question, a very big question. So a couple of ways. If there's a design like the one I'm wearing and they find that it's a fast-moving design on the market, someone will send it. They have reps all around. They will send it, they will copy it, they will bring it here, and they would undercut the price that is going for. And that's for a number of reasons. The cost of production.
So that's piracy.
Piracy.
Yes.
That's a key issue for us. And I will talk about what has been done so far and what we are hoping that the policy would capture also. Because beyond it just being the copying of designs, they're also copying our trademarks. So you'd find that there are products on the market that have registered trademarks of ATL, they have registered trademarks of GTP, or even Printex that are not produced here. That's a big problem. But it's not just a problem because they have the designs, but they're coming in at a price point that we cannot compete with.
Right.
So one of the things Anna said was the cost of production. We have to look at what the cost of production is, and is that cost of production going to allow us to be competitive? That's one of our biggest challenges. So if we're importing everything or most of the inputs that we need, then there are import charges, exchange rate issues, things like that. And it was exciting to note that there was a part of the policy that focused on the production of cotton,
right.
Because that for us is a key raw material and we
yeah.
don't produce cotton in Ghana. So even though, for instance,
we used to produce cotton in Ghana.
We used to, yes.
I remember in the northern region.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
we had a Ghana Cotton Company. I mean, all those.
Yes.
What happened?
And we still have one of the finest cotton for the little we produce.
Exactly.
But it's not enough to
not
feed
enough,
our textile
It's not
companies.
enough at all.
Right.
So if you recall, Kennedy, when we were at the workshop, and one of the things that the chief director said was we should look at this policy and ask ourselves, is it transformational enough?
Enough, absolutely.
And I feel that
I
yes, it's
remember
transformational enough, especially because it takes into perspective all of the key issues that need to be addressed. And cotton is one of those key issues. Because if we're importing most of our inputs, it impacts on how we produce, the cost, the price points that at the end of the day we'll get. So that's one of the key things. But when you talk about the influx, apart from piracy of designs, there's also the fact that those products don't get the type of tax obligations that we do as local manufacturers. And so thankfully, since 2017, there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of work by the Ministry of Trade to ensure that there's support in terms of taxation. So textiles in Ghana, produced in Ghana, have been zero rated from 2018. So from 2018, was zero rated for 3 years, then was extended for another 2 years. One of the things this policy seeks to achieve is to extend that further to 2028, which is very exciting for us.
Yes.
However, the key thing is the entry points. And we've been talking for a very long time about the import management system. How do we ensure that when these products get to the ports of entry, they pay the right taxes?
Yes.
And that's where we have the issue of the tax stamp.
Yeah.
So we've been having conversations over the last 3 years on the implementation of the tax stamp. I'm happy to note that, or to state that, we've moved beyond just talking about it to actual implementation. So we currently have tax stamps on locally manufactured textiles in Ghana. The gap now is the implementation from the ports of entry. And the ministry assures us that once this policy is in place and providing the feedback that we did at the workshop, then enforcement will also begin. Because that's a key point.
Right.
If these textiles that come into the market, and by all means, we're not saying that there should be no competition from other markets. What we're asking for is that it should be a level playing field for all of us to be able to be competitive and to compete competitively. And secondly, we don't want them to be able to steal our designs. It takes a lot of time and effort to create the designs that we create. It's our intellectual property. It's our heritage as Ghanaians. We use Edinkra, we use Kente. Our designs tell a story about who we are as Ghanaians. And to just have that taken away and printed by somebody else and brought in and flooding the markets at price points that are very, are like sometimes 50% lower than what we're offering it for. That's one of the challenges. So it's key for us that import management system is incorporated in this policy, that we recognize that the VAT impacts on us and that the tax stamp is implemented, because we believe that once that comes into play, like it happened with the beverages, it immediately changes the game for the local manufacturers. It immediately creates an opportunity for the local industry to compete. Because if they're paying the right taxes, then the price point will not be at where it is currently, and that creates an opportunity for us.
All right, so she made mention of their numbers, the numbers that they have. You mentioned GTP, ATL, Printex, and your company,
Akosombo Textiles.
That's 4 major companies. Can you tell us, in terms of numbers, how many you are?
So in terms of numbers, the textile industry actually used to be one of the largest employers in Ghana, in the thousands.
Yes.
We used to employ close to 2,000 people. We're currently just under 700.
Wow.
And like Nana said, beyond just the employment that we directly engage in, there's also employment of other sectors. So we feed into, for instance, Akosombo Textiles in particular. We are in the Akosombo township and we are a key employer there. So people's families and livelihoods depend on us. There are people who provide support services to us, catering, transportation. There are people who provide feedstock for our boiler. So we're currently moved from using RFO to being green and being conscious of the environment in terms of sustainability. So we use a biomass boiler, excuse me. And that means that we're also buying this local the feedstock locally and creating opportunity. So if you take the industry, there's a lot of opportunity that is available for us to hire more people, for us to provide more employment. And that for me is one of the key things. The first time I walked into the Akosombo Textiles factory, I looked at it and I was like, my goodness, this is huge. So it's not just huge because the factory is big, but a lot of livelihoods depend on that entity. A lot of people depend on it. The people who live in Akosombo, Somanya, and those areas, if you ask maybe 10 people, about 4 of them will have a relative or had a relative who've worked in the factory. And when you talk about rural development, that's what makes rural development possible. Because there are things that the people who live in those communities can do, instead of everybody moving into the urban areas. So it's key for us that we recognize that the textile industry, beyond just putting it in the market, it's actually impacting on lives. People's livelihoods are tied to that. And that's another thing. We have the installed capacity to spin and weave cotton, but we don't have the raw material locally. So that capacity, even though installed, is not being utilized. If this policy becomes effective and is implemented, that's one of the things that can come back. And then again, you're giving employment to farmers and their families and all of that also. So for me, it's key that we look at it holistically. There's definitely more. We noted at the workshop that we're currently producing at possibly about 50% of our capacity.
Yes.
So there's more that we can do. One of the things that Akosombo Textiles has done in the last 5 years is we've focused a lot on retooling. So we've acquired new machines that can ensure that we produce faster and better products. We've ensured that we are more digitalized. So we have a screen plotter and all of those things are more digital. But there's so much more that can be done.
Yeah.
There's so much more in terms of the output and the speed. Because if you look at the machinery that is used in other countries that produce textiles, even producing the African print, the speed of production is something totally different from what we're doing here. And that definitely is something that we can look at. So when I looked at the policy and the upgradation theme, it creates an opportunity for the textile companies locally to be giving financing, patient financing that can ensure that we invest in machinery to improve productivity. That's a good thing. And that's where I would say absolutely yes. Is it transformational enough? Yes, it is. Because if you improve on the technology, you improve on the speed and productivity, you improve on efficiency, you're going to get a better output. Your customers are going to be happy. You can sell to the local market, you can import, and you can compete. The fashion industry globally is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Currently, we're just scratching the surface. And there's so much more. Nana mentioned something. There's a lot of interests in Africa now. Africa is the frontier. There's so much interest in buying from Africa. But do we have what the world needs? That's the key thing. Do we have the quality that the world needs? Can we match up to the price points? Because if you want to submit, for instance, an offer, or they bring you an order, most times for the large uptakers, they already have a price point they're looking at. You're not going to offer them your price and you're just going to accept it. They already have a point, because maybe if they're making something, they're making pillowcases or they're making curtains from your fabric, they have a point they want to be able to, after they've added value to it, how much they will sell it to maybe a large retailer like Walmart. So if they come to you and you don't have that price point, then they're moving somewhere else. So even though they want to do business in Africa, we have to be strategically positioned to be able to meet their needs. Another very key thing is looking at sustainability. Looking at the source of raw materials. Have there been any use of enslaved labor? Are there any human rights abuses? That's a good thing for Ghana, because we do have a very good reputation globally. So when you see made in Ghana, especially for textiles and apparels, particularly for the African print, the perception, which is actually the reality, is that it's quality, but it's also authentic. So we have to take advantage of that, and getting the local textile, the Ghanaian textile companies to be able to meet up, take advantage of that opportunity is very important. If you think about initiatives like the Year of Return, that has also brought a lot of attention to Ghana. Are we taking advantage of that? Are all of these people who are coming in here buying made in Ghana textiles? The answer is no. They may be buying textiles on the market, but 70% of what they are buying, even though it might be Kente in prints or it might be African prints as they see it, might not be produced here. They would go into the market, they will see something that has the ATL logo on it, but it might not be an ATL product. So that's where it becomes very scary for us. And if we're not able to arrest the situation soon, then the decline will become faster and it will continue to persist. This policy for me says that there's a commitment to ensure there's a solution. There's a broader conversation and a high-level discussion that we recognize as a challenge, and we are willing to provide a solution. And that's why I feel that yes, we need to engage more. I'm hoping. I remember my first question was, okay, so when is implementation going to start? Because at the end of the day, if we talk about a lot of these nice things and we don't implement it, then it's just been a waste of our time and our effort. So for me also, once we put all of these ideas together, and I must say to the Ministry of Trade, they've done a lot of work. Textiles and garments is not a very easy sector to gather information on, because there's a lot of informality also in our market. So in Ghana also. But there's a lot of data that has gone into this policy. So that's a lot of work. That's a lot of intentionality, a lot of dedication. my expectation is that they would also incorporate the feedback that we provided at the workshop and ensure that the key areas are covered. So for us in particular, the VAT, extension of the VAT is critical, but also ensuring that where the textiles coming from the entry points, the right measures have been put in place, the tax stamp is implemented, and then the tax force to ensure that the tax stamp implementation is being carried out is enforced.
Awesome. So let me come to Nana and find out from you. We are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and we're talking about deep technological penetration and the advancements in technology. You alluded to the fact that there are modern machines that are coming, for which reason you need experts who can man these machines and all that. How can the sector, the textiles and garment sector, leverage on technology to make you competitive?
Okay. So I would say that indeed we have started leveraging. There is a lot more we can do, but then at the moment we all recognize the need for technology to be the, should I say, the majority production processing. Okay, so what we're already doing is that, for example, we have computer-assisted design programs and machinery. We're also leveraging on technology in the form of the internet, technology in the form of e-commerce, okay? Also in other ways that technology is available. For one thing, we have also, should I say, automated some of our systems and our processes where it's possible. We're also doing a lot of virtual engagements. Right. We have most of our members who are now marketing through social media. We do payments through our mobile money platforms and all other ways. So we have started the process of automation and technology in our processes and in our service delivery. Right. I believe there's a lot more we can do, but at least that has started. So those are some of the ways that we have engaged technology in our businesses.
Awesome. Yes, from the textiles sector, technology.
So for us, let's start from the design point of view. Designing has evolved tremendously. It's not what it was 20 years ago. So using AI, for instance, to ensure that you are getting good ideas. We're having our designers attend global fashion events so that they can figure out. So for in textiles, there's seasonalities to designs. So we have our designers attending these events to ensure that they are seeing what's available there, what the opportunities are, where designing is going to also. But not just globally, also within Ghana. So we have our design teams go to different communities, just looking at things and observing what's available. So that's one thing. But employing technology in terms of the softwares that have evolved, the computers that have evolved, using all of these things to make sure that you get the right output. The screen engraving has become digitalized. So the number of screens that you can produce. So the screen is what you use to plot the design onto the cloth, okay? And that has also become highly digitalized, very fast, ensuring that efficiency and speed are there. Accuracy. And then accuracy. And then there's the issue of the energy, use of energy. So beyond just using RFO, so residual fuel oil, there's clean energy, green energy. We've evolved and moved from just using black oil to using green oil, so biomass, ensuring that we are being sustainably responsible, not creating extra pollution for the environment. And then a very key part of technology for us is also how does the product get to the customer. Right. So employing e-commerce. One of the blessings of COVID was that it forced us to get online quicker. So we, one of the things that happened to us in 2020 was we had to quickly set up our online storefronts. And that has been something very interesting for us.
Even post-COVID?
Yes. Also post-COVID. I mean, the things that COVID taught us is in our interest not to unlearn them. Okay, so that's key. I was excited when Nana mentioned that during COVID, we didn't have to import. One of the key partners to the garments industry during the COVID, providing the grey cloth to produce the face mask and all the PPs was Akosombo Textiles. Right. And it was one of the key things that helped us in that year.
You actually cashed in during
the period. Yes. And we're very grateful to the Ministry of Trade because that was important. We could keep our staff, we could keep our operation running because we had that. Yeah. Of course, there were no events going on, no weddings, no funerals, no nothing. Everybody was at home. But this opportunity made us we were able to run our factory. Even though we didn't make the type of money we needed, we made money that ensured that we didn't have to shut down the factory. So things like that are opportunities. And that also tells us that there are things we can do if we look within ourselves. So COVID created an opportunity for us. It created an opportunity for us to try and be better at the things that we do. So in terms of technology, we continue to evolve. We've recently installed a duplex machine, which also ensures that the output on the fabric is clearer, is better, is more digital. It's not the old rotary system anymore. So it's a consistent commitment to improvement, which also requires a consistent commitment to investment. Right. And not just investment, but investment that is patient. That's one of the things I see that this policy will provide. If we can get that consistently, we're consistently improving output. What the end user gets becomes better. We can do it faster. We can benefit from economies of scale. The input becomes better. So the lead time also is shorter. We don't have to wait for 45 days to get a container. We can do that shorter because it's coming from next door. If Volta Star could give us grey cloth, of course we want to go there. They are our neighbors in Japan, you know. So it's a lot of things that can be done. We've employed technology and we continue to employ technology because that's the only way we can get better. Last year, so 2023, when our team was at ITMA, ITMA is the global meeting for machinery for manufacturers. Right. The amount of machinery available for textiles is just mind-blowing. Wow. And when you consider what's available, how much better we can be, then you just recognize that, yes, there's a need and there are opportunities that we can take advantage of. There's more that can be done. There's so much technology. I mean, there are countries that are producing fabric in millions of yards in very short hours. Like you just run the print and it goes, you know. And that's the thing. So technology it's for our industry, it's a very, 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 very big part. Big for production, big for how the product gets to the end user, big for even how we communicate it, big for how we ensure that it's the best quality, the best look and feel, it has the best life also, and all of those things are being considered.
Awesome. All right, so Petra Abasewa is the head of sales and marketing at Akosombo Industrial Company Limited, previously Akosombo Textiles Company. They still are using that particular name too, but, that's the name of the company now. And they also have in the studios Nana Pukia A.A. Ediama, who is the national coordinator of the Association of Ghana Apparel Manufacturers, AGAM. They are the two distinguished ladies we are having a discussion with tonight. Tonight we're taking a look at the draft policy of the Ministry of Trade that's for the garments and textiles manufacturing in our country. Like I said in my earlier submission, my intro, there was this stakeholder consultative meeting next to Lisa, and they happened to be the key stakeholders in this industry. So they couldn't have been missing out. They couldn't have missed out at all. And so we are taking a look at that particular policy and some of the issues that they are grappling with as textiles and garments companies, and what can be done and what they want to see in that particular document as far as that policy is concerned. So we are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Please do stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for that.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. I've been told by the production team that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in. And remember, the number to dial is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. We have your messages here, which I'll be going into the inbox pretty shortly to take them so the rest of the world can hear them and see the answers that will be proffered by our guests in the studios. Remember, we have Nana Pukua A.A. Adiama, who is the National Coordinator of the Association of Ghana Apparel Manufacturers, AGAM, and also in the studios, Madame Petra Abbas Asamoah, who is the head of sales and marketing at Akosombo Industrial Company Limited. So let me come to you, Petra, and find out from you whether you think that this particular policy that's being fashioned by the Ministry of Trade, as the Textiles and Garments Manufacturing Policy for Ghana, would bring about some opportunities for existing textiles companies. Because when I sat back and I looked at it, I think that it's a thorough job that they have done, even though they are still seeking inputs from some people like you, to fine-tune it to make it better. I saw some incentives for new entrants that they are trying to encourage, in terms of like 100 acres of land, 300 acres of land, there are issues of tariff, electricity tariff and all those things. I mean, what is in it for you, those that are currently, in existence?
Wonderful question, Kennedy. And if you recall, I asked the question that for some of the thematic areas, it had a clause that said, and for existing companies that qualify.
Yes.
So our expectation is that the ministry will be clear on, for those incentives that seek to expand or are beneficial for with certain clauses, they will be clear on how existing companies can benefit from it. So it was very important for us to put that in at the workshop, which I did. The other important thing is the issue on tariffs. So there's an ongoing conversation around the fact that for cost of production to be competitive, then of course the energy tariffs also have to go down. I know that that's going to benefit us once it's done, so it's key. But then again, I think that we need to be clear that nobody is against new investments coming into the country. Once new investment comes into the country, even existing textile companies can be beneficiaries, because to set up a textile manufacturing plant is not something that you do in 2 months or 1 month. It will take you time. It takes knowledge, it takes capacity, it takes setting skill sets, which we already have installed in these existing companies. So an investor who wants to come in is a good opportunity for them to look at an existing company and say, you already have all of this pre-installed capacity. What can we do together to make it better, to benefit from all of these opportunities that the government has in this framework? So that for me is a good thing. But we recognize that we would also have to ensure that once the policy comes into place, we are aligned with the requirements. And that's where the consistent engagement will come about. Because obviously, I don't think there's any government will set up a policy like this and cut out what already exists. Because we need it to also be sustainable for it to be attractive. If the existing companies are not competitive and are not perceived to be attractive to the local market and even for exports, then why will an investor want to come here? Because the conditions here that make it good for us to run our businesses are the things that the new companies will also observe.
Absolutely.
They will look at it and say, okay, access to roads, access to energy sources, access to markets. What are the things that already position Ghana as a place I want to come to?
Sorry to cut your flow. Let's go to the phone lines and go all the way to Sunyani. And welcome, Kwesi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Please shoot.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to also express my opinion on
the
topic on board.
Right.
My name is Megina Kwesi.
Okay.
Please, I think that the government is not doing well when it comes to industrialization. Industrialization drive, we should not forget about the government putting up measures to enable the people who want to invest into these industries a friendly manner. Because, like they just said, they don't have the raw material. That is the cotton. Without the cotton, they cannot do production.
Yes.
So if they find it difficult to get the raw material in the first place, this will cost the final consumer, because the cost factor in producing the material will go higher, because you are going to purchase the raw material from elsewhere. When you are exporting something, there are when you go to our port, look at the levies that are on our product. We charge, we cannot even mention mentioning the tariff that they impose on the material that we import. So the government is not helping. They are not helping us. They are rather killing us. And I wonder why they always concentrate on tax. But we pay the tax. They are not using our tax to do the needful for the people. And I think it is quite high time we draw the government attention to do the needful, because we have areas that we can grow the cotton. But why the government is not pushing? If you go to like Nigeria and the rest, because they want to beat down the price of rice, government has invested much into the rice production. They are not leaving it to private man. You see how it is. But here in the case, the private man who is investing, you are not helping the person, but you are charging the person tax incentives high. You are not helping. And look at the rules that will even lead us to where they will grow the cotton. Very poor, very bad.
Right.
And we call ourselves leaders. What we know is just give us that.
Yes.
The workshop is not anything to go back. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Kwesi, all the way from Sunyani. We are grateful to you for your call. You can also call, and the number to dial is 02055283353. You can contribute to the discussion. I think you landed just when I brought in Kwesi, right?
Yes, okay. I landed.
So let's talk about sustainability, Nana. Okay. It's been a growing concern globally. And so I just want to find out from you what you're doing as an association or a group to engender, social sustainability, economic. Just name it. Yes.
So sustainability is, should I say, a global
environmental and social sustainability, so to speak. Yeah.
It's a global key thing at the moment, and as manufacturers who are ethically oriented, we very much align to the need for sustainability in our production and in our, should I say, our management style, in our products,
yes.
In the way we even relate with our clients or our customers. So for us, it starts right from the very beginning. So the setup of even our factories. Indeed, we are, should I say, reinvesting to ensure that our factories are even sustainable. So if you talk about, for example, energy, we're looking at solar energy as opposed to complementing our traditional forms of energy available. When you talk about raw materials, we're looking at sustainable raw materials that are environmentally friendly,
right.
Both to even us, the producers and the end user. We believe very much in being ethical, and for that reason, for the past, especially the past 3 years, our membership have been very focused on compliance, getting certifications, both locally and internationally. And in our sector, some of the certifications are the ISO, the RAP for the American market, the SMETA for the European market, and a host of them.
Right.
And indeed, our membership are investing in these certifications. And these certifications attest to the fact that you are producing ethically. You're producing in an eco-friendly manner, right. And you're producing in a sustainable way. And so we also believe in the circular production, where you, should I say, minimize wastage.
Right.
You recycle, you reuse, you reduce waste in every way. You upscale. And so we have members who use some of the waste products, right. to create other products. We also are very much interested in the green and the efficient production.
Right.
I mentioned solar already. Yes. We also looking at creating more awareness and supporting advocacy on sustainability for our members, for our sector, and indeed for our partners in the industry.
Right.
And so sustainability is a key thing for us. Even in the way we relate to our own workers, there are, should I say, social sustainability expectations that we should be meeting.
Right.
Some of them border on the working environment. How safe is it? How healthy is it? How healthy are our workers?
Yes.
We are very big on sustainability.
Right.
So it cuts across from how we produce, how we work, how we relate internally and externally. Our products, they should be reusable.
Right.
Indeed, one thing that one of our biggest producers is doing at the moment is using recyclable products to produce materials that we use to produce garments. So I think that technically it's called the PET.
Okay.
It is actually a kind of plastic that you can reuse to create material,
Right.
what we call fabric. I don't know whether in this context that the appropriate word is fabric, but we use it as material to do garment and textiles.
Right.
And the whole idea is that we want to be able to save our environment. So we want to use products that are reusable as opposed to products that are single use.
Right.
So sustainability is a lifeline to our sector.
Awesome.
And we are positioning every day to be more compliant and to be more sustainable friendly.
All right, so let me come to you, Petra, and find out from you the status of member companies as far as exportation is concerned, and what do you think that the ports can do to aid you to export efficiently and effectively?
Or you mean the policy? What the policy can do?
Not in the policy, but what do you think generally that can be done to aid you in terms of your quest to export?
The opportunity for textiles is huge beyond Ghana. I mean, the local market is very important to us, but exports also very important.
Right.
Countries across the world, North America, Europe, are using textiles from us, from Ghana especially, to produce items, so crafts, different things.
Right.
One of the key things, let's talk about the African markets, is with AFTA, I think for us the biggest thing is making the movement of our goods easier across borders. If you want to move goods from Ghana to Nigeria, everybody who's ever tried it will tell you that it can be a nightmare. And that's a key thing, because if we cannot export to our neighboring countries in a way that is seamless, not stressful, that takes into recognition that these are orders that are coming from customers who need to meet certain timelines. If we're not speaking the same language in terms of the tariffs, the procedure, then the conversation around AFTA for us would just be at the top level. It wouldn't have trickled down to benefit a company like ours. So that for us is key. That yes, I know the policy created a conversation around access to markets, but removing the bureaucracies that we face in moving of goods across borders is for us very important. Not just importation of raw materials, but when we do produce the goods, how do they get to markets across Africa?
Right.
Even simply just across West Africa, it can be very, very difficult. So that for me is key. So I think that if we want to have a conversation around trade facilitation, that will be like the key thing for us.
Right.
AGOA also is an opportunity. The North American market is big. There's a lot of, because of the heritage and the connection between Africa and the North America, the diaspora, there's an opportunity there that we've taken advantage of, but we can still take more. There's more market that needs to be taken.
Right.
But there's so many things within the space that creates a difficulty. Sometimes it's just the different multiple offices you have to go to get things done. I noted that there was a portion of the policy that sought to address that issue, where there will be like a one-stop shop for everything. That's a big break.
Right.
If you can go to one place and get everything that you need done, sorted out, you don't have to go to multiple offices. Because if I tell you the number of licenses and certifications that my export team needs to chase for every single export order we get, it's a long list.
Right.
Thankfully, because we've done it for so many years, we have a good network of contacts, we have relationships that we utilize, but that doesn't make it any easier. If the red tape can be removed, it will make it better. We'll be able to meet our customer expectations better, we'll be able to export faster, and then that brings us foreign exchange. So the textile industry has always been a large contributor to foreign exchange because of exports. In 2023, Akosombo Textiles was awarded by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. For the export of our textiles. And that for us was important because even in 2021 and 2022, where we're still coming out of the challenges of COVID, we were yet able to export. So it tells you that if the right environment is created, if the bottlenecks are removed, there's this bigger opportunity. We're getting foreign exchange into our market. This is foreign exchange that we can use. It helps our economy, it helps businesses, it helps our nation.
Right. Okay, I think that we have just a minute to wrap up. You want to touch on after briefly and then we wrap up?
Yes,
we haven't even taken the messages, but
yes,
just,
I think that
yeah.
Petra has said most of it, and she's talked about the protection earlier on, protection of our intellectual creative property, our copywriting, our trademarking, and she's mentioned protection against dumping and price undercutting, our regional market penetration, which is just described in depth. I totally agree with that.
Right.
Transport and logistics is critical for us to be able to do the regional market.
Right.
And she mentioned sometimes documentation. Actually, she mentioned the offices, but then sometimes the documentation as well. I think that there has been, I must be honest, there has been quite an improvement in that direction, even under ECOWAS before AFTA came in. And I think after 6 to do even more. But I think there's still room for improvement. So generally, just to have the facilitation for a seamless cross-border trade and access to non-tariff barriers, I think will be a game changer for both the textile, garment and apparel sector.
Awesome.
And as she rightly said, once these bottlenecks are removed, they are contributing to local production and growth, and indeed the international market bringing in foreign exchange is unquestionable.
Great.
It's very significant.
Thank you very much indeed. Nana Pokuya A.A. Ediama, who is National Coordinator, Association of Ghana Apparel Manufacturers, AGAM, and indeed Petra Abba Asamoah, Head, Sales and Marketing, Akosombo Industrial Company Limited. Tonight we've been taking a look at the role of the National Garments and Textiles Manufacturing Policy, which is being developed by the Ministry of Trade. Indeed, with the support of some of these stakeholders, we've had a very good discussion on what they are expecting in the policy and what they will also be doing to ensure that they also up their game in order to become competitive and all that. Maybe some other time we'll have a second phase of this discussion because time today has not been our friend. I would like to say a big thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, Guelph PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and the abridged version will be aired on Ghana Television, GTV, on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. We entreat you to make time and then watch that. My name is Kennedy Mona. We say thanks to our guests. We say thanks to you for watching, for sending in your messages, and for calling in. Next week, God willing, we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of your favorite Eye on Port. We wish you a super week ahead, and God bless us all. Good evening.